Hey y'all, Rick Sky here. Welcome back to another Timepieces for Tomorrow live show. And within this show, we're chatting about everything in the wristwatch industry. So anything you want to know, any curiosities, any questions. By the way, if you want to tune in live by way of Skype, I'm going to post the link right now. Feel free to join in. Face on video, audio only. Completely up to you. But just posted the link in case you want to dial in. And again, you could use Skype from your mobile phone. You could use Skype from a computer, whatever you want to do. Again, completely optional. Feel free to just chat and super chat within the live chat if you want to. I mean, there's obviously no pressure to join. But what I want to do is go ahead and hop right in here and just kind of talk about a few things that we've seen in the industry throughout the past, few months. And not necessarily the past few months, but 2020. I mean, 2020 ushered in a very interesting scenario for a lot of things, in particular, wristwatch aficionados. So, we've experienced the supply shortage, we've experienced the supply chain issues, and a lot of that, now keep in mind, a lot of that is legitimate lack of supply, inability to deliver. But a lot of people are utilizing and this is something I don't agree with, they're taking advantage of the situation to create possibly a false perception of a shortage. Anytime that something's in demand and it's perceived to be in short supply, that's a situation where prices can typically rise. And with wristwatches, that may be true for some. I mean, looking at Rolex, Rolex has always been on it's always been on a bullish trend. But in 2020, man, we've seen, it's crazy. The alleged supply that authorized dealers have, because Rolex sells through authorized dealer networks, we've seen it go from, they've got a modest selection to Hybrid Life. Welcome aboard, sir. Good to see you here. Always good to have you, man. We've seen it go from a lackluster selection to pretty much nothing at all. We've seen it go as far as you can't even hardly find Oyster Perpetuals in your authorized dealers. So, whatever's driving this is open for discussion. A lot of people say, oh, well, there's authorized dealers that are selling stock out of the back door, because if they sell it MSRP to the customer, they're only obviously making MSRP, manufacturer suggested retail price. Whereas if they sell it out the back door, someone in theory could offer more than, we got, let's see, Trevor here. Let me pop over here, Trevor.
Hey, Irish guy, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you doing this evening?
Great.
Awesome. Good to see you here. Is Hybrid Life going to tune in too, or is he?
Yeah, I thought I was actually just texting him. He said he was joining in.
Good deal.
So did you see him join in yet or not yet?
Yeah, I saw him join in on the so the link came up okay in the YouTube chat then. The Skype link. Yeah, he chatted in the YouTube chat, so I bet he's probably on his way in too. So what's new in first of all, what's on the wrist today? Wristwatch check.
Oh, actually, today I just have it's just a Hugo Boss watch. So, not too expensive or anything, but I like to wear it with dress clothes sometimes, brown leather strap with the gold. So yeah, it's Hugo Boss is the brand.
So what made you go from the Audemars Piguet solid gold to that?
I just wear this one sometimes and I don't really care. Just like when I am okay with if it gets hit or anything like that. I just wear this one, just kind of a knock around watch. So
yeah, I like their I buy a lot of their suits, man. Hugo Boss is some good stuff. They got some good stuff.
Yeah. I went to the I like their clothes for sure, but I went to an AD today to try to I really want to get the root beer Rolex. I think we were talking about that last live show, the GMT, or I want the Starbucks, but it's so hard to get. There's so many people on the wait list trying to get Rolexes these days. So
Yeah.
But I went to a couple of watch stores today just to try to build relationships and see if I can get on the list.
Yeah, good luck with that. I'm wearing the Tudor Black Bay 58, the blue bay. It's kind of my knock-around wristwatch.
Awesome. Yeah, Tudor it's a good brand. I was thinking about getting one of those too, just for more of a knock-around watch as well.
Which Tudors do you like?
I don't know too many about all the different models that they have, but I know some of them look, pretty similar to Rolex's. So I'm not able to see. Are you on video or? I was trying to see which one you have on, but
yeah, I've got a weird video set up. Like I popped it up when I did, so the viewers could see me. I popped it up and I did a wrist shot. But
nice.
my video, the way I've got this ATEM, you can't see me, but the viewers, when I flip back and forth, they can see me.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'm pulling it up here on I have a couple screens right now. And I pulled it up now over here so I can see on my other screen, so I can see what the viewers are seeing and things, and then I should be able to see you. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't know too many of the models for Tudor, but what do you recommend for that brand?
Well, with Tudor, I mean, it would definitely be the Black Bay, and I would say the 58. I know it's 39 mil, but when you look at that and then you compare it to the traditional Black Bays, which they have a lot of different references, the problem, well, I'll call it a problem because I call it like I see it. The problem with the traditional Black Bays is that they're case height. They sit really tall off the wrist. And for some people, that may not be an issue. But if you're used to, say, the Rolex counterparts, if you put on a traditional Tudor Black Bay instead of the Black Bay 58 series, you're probably going to think it's a chunky monkey. I mean, it's sitting up really tall. And some people may be okay with that. But I would definitely steer you towards the Black Bay 58, the original. And a lot of people don't like it because it's got the fake patina. Or the blue. I got the blue because it's just something different. I would look at those, and hopefully they'll release. It'd be awesome if they released a Tudor Black Bay 58 GMT and then also a Tudor Black Bay 58 Chrono, for that reason, the case height.
Yeah, they look real similar to the Rolexes, but a little cheaper, which is nice. And I know really similar quality as far as the movement and everything from what I've heard.
Yeah, the big difference you'll see, have you ever had a Tudor on your wrist, or have you looked at one closely in an authorized dealer?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, the biggest thing, I mean, to look at them in a photo, it's pretty much, it's kind of hard to distinguish the differences between it and Rolex. But, owning both, I will tell you the hand finishing, the dial finishing, it's great, but it's not as sharp and as finely polished as a Rolex. So if you looked at it under a microscope or even just zoomed in a little bit with a camera, you can see subtle imperfections on the hands and things that you wouldn't get with a Rolex. So it's you got your audio on the YouTube.
No, I don't. It looks like from my end, it looks like somebody else might have joined.
We got RI. Who is RI? Welcome aboard, Ree. Who's Ree?
Dial finishing, it's great, but it's not as sharp and it's finely polished as Rolex. So if you looked at it under a microscope, or even just zoomed in a little bit with a camera, you can see.
Yeah, we've got Ree here. I think that's the one that's doing the echo.
Yeah, I think that's the one that has the audio on, because I don't have my audio on.
It's you got your audio on the YouTube.
Yeah, Ree, can you mute your audio or?
Mine, it looks like somebody else might have joined.
We got RI. Who is RI? Welcome aboard, Reed. Who's Reed? Dial finishing. It's great, but it's not as sharp and it's finely polished as Rolex. So if you looked at it under a microscope, or even just zoomed in a little.
Yeah, see, I put it on speaker view, and there's Ree. Ree, can you mute your? We're getting a lot of feedback from you.
I have my audio on.
It's you got your audio on. Yeah, Ree, can you mute your?
We're just gonna mute Ree until he gets his audio thing fixed.
Okay.
So what were we talking about? Sorry, we.
I think the Tudors we were talking about.
Yeah. So the Tudors. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's going to be something that's going to replace the entry level Rolex price point, or where do you think Tudor's heading?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, with how expensive Rolexes are getting for secondhand Rolexes, I could see them continuing to increase as well, and then pretty soon a Tudor will be the same price as what entry level Submariners are right now, or the Oyster Perpetuals or whatever.
Yeah, and I think that's a realistic possibility, and I think with Tudor originally, and Hans Willdorf, the founder of Rolex, he also invented Tudor, and not to misquote him, but it was more along the lines of he wanted something that would be more approachable from a price perspective, and that's why I created Tudor. And it's I don't see Tudor today as Tudor was prior to the Black Bay, because they released a bunch of junk. I mean, I'll just call it like I see it. I mean, they released some, that's the thing about Rolex. They stick to traditional designs. They come out with bigger, not necessarily bigger, but just newer and better. They upgraded the bracelets. They switched to ceramic bezels, better power reserves, this, that, and the other. But Tudor, prior to the Black Bay, they were just tinkering with all sorts of just nasty-looking stuff that, if somebody bought it, they could probably never sell or trade it because it was just garbage. But the Black Bay, I think Black Bay is really bringing it to the, they're saying, hey, they're serious about wanting to. Oh, we've got, who's that on with us that just joined? Is that Hybrid Life in the background there?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Hybrid Life. Do you know Ree that joined us?
I do not.
Yeah, I had to mute Ree because Ree you couldn't hear him, and you just heard Ree, if you get your audio issue fixed, let us know. But so Hybrid Life, what's on the wrist for you today?
I got the Rolex Submariner 16618 all gold, blue face.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I've been wearing this piece a lot lately. I just really like it. Obviously, with me being a precious metals investor, I've kind of been in that mood, still waiting on my Starbucks to come in. So I'm excited about that. It should come in anytime soon. Speaking of Tudors, you guys were talking about, I almost bought a few Tudors this last week too. The Pelagos.
Yeah, titanium. Did you go with the LHD, the left-hand drive that has the red on the dial, or were you looking at the...
Oh, yeah, exactly. The red on the dial. Then there's a chrono. I forget the model number, but David Beckham. It's kind of David Beckham's watch. It's MSRP at $52.80.
Yeah, it's either the Panda or the reverse Panda. Did you find it to fit too high on the wrist?
I thought it fit well.
Really?
Personally, yeah. I didn't really notice it fitting too high on the wrist.
Well,
did you notice that?
Yeah, it's just the case height when you compare it to, say, a Submariner, it was significantly greater case height than your Submariner that you got on, wasn't it?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
And see, that's the thing.
The case height on the Submariner is small.
Yeah, if you tried on a Daytona, the case height on it. See, that's the problem I have with the Tudor Chrono. It looks nice. I like the Panda and the reverse Panda, but it's just the case height. And I haven't seen one in the flesh. My authorized dealer's in St. Kitts, so I haven't tried one on. But that's interesting. So you actually liked it, even though it was a little bit taller. Yeah,
I did. I have a Breitling. That case height is really tall, in my opinion, when I wear it. I didn't see any significance between that and the Tudor, in my opinion.
Well, and that's a good way to look at it, because if you're used to the Breitling's case height, it's probably not that big of a deal. But if you got Rolex in your mind, it's significantly, the case height. We got Golden Majestic here, the Golden Majestic Flipper. He says, why you not include JLC on poll? JLC on poll. Oh, talking about I posted a poll, and I said, what's your favorite, which watch brands do you prefer? And it only let me have 4 options. That's why I didn't include JLC. I just did Rolex, Omega, Breitling, and Tudor. Rolex is 67% prefer it. Omega 0%, Breitling 33%, and Tudor 0 so far.
Crazy.
What do you think about JJ LeCoultre? Do you like that? JJ LeCoultre, however you say it.
Oh, yeah. JJ LeCoultre's nice. I don't have one particularly, but it's a great watch. I mean, they look great. I know you have one.
Yeah, I've got the 40 mil master control on the stainless.
Yeah, that's a nice watch.
It's comfortable, but I mean, it's, you know, obviously it doesn't have a screw down. It's a dress watch. You can't swim with it. You can't be too rough with it.
You know what I did try on though when I went to my AD is the James Bond watch, the Omega, in titanium, and I tried on the steel strap and the NATO strap. That watch is nicer than you would think. I know you were saying you didn't like it because it was titanium, but it still felt good.
So it doesn't feel like a piece of paper on your wrist. It has a little bit of weight to it.
No, it does. Yeah. And I was wearing my gold sub when I went into the AD, and that thing weighs a lot, obviously, because it's precious metals. And there wasn't a massive difference, you know, so it wasn't like, oh, this feels like a piece of junk. This is disgusting. Get it off of me. I was actually like, maybe I kind of want to buy this.
Now, do you have a moon watch?
No, but I really want a moon watch. And if I think I did get one, it would be, I don't have an AP yet. And I think it might be an AP, but the prices are really high. So another one I'm eyeing is a Cellini moon phase.
Oh, no, I was talking about like the moon watch, the first man on the moon.
Oh.
Yeah, not a moon phase. Sorry.
No, I don't. No, but you know what I'm talking about with the moon phases, right?
Yeah, I think the Cellini is a great moon phase. Also, J.J. LeCoultre makes a great master control moon phase.
Yeah, no, moon phases they're slick watches. I love the complication of the moon phase. I think it's really neat, especially as a collector. You look at every extra complication and kind of admire that, you know.
So what do you think will be your next piece that you add?
Well, it's going to be for sure the Starbucks. I'm going to get that so my main AD that I have, I'm getting their next one 100%. So it's if I don't have it by the end of the year, it'll be really early into 2022. I'm guessing it will be before that though. Once I get the new Starbucks, I'm going to get, like Trevor said, I really want the root beer GMT. I love it. I mean, I didn't think I liked it as much as I thought after doing more research. Once I heard you two both talk about it on the last show, I started looking more and more into it. And I think that's such a slick watch, especially in the business field. For me specifically, dealing with patients, like wearing that in clinic, it's not as loud as like an all gold Submariner, but it is a little more classy than like a stainless steel green bezel, green dial, or green dial black bezel, you know. So I'm going to eye down that root beer GMT two-tone after I get this Starbucks. And then I think I'm going to work my way up to the AP game. So that's what I'm looking at.
Do you think that AP might be kind of a downgrade? I mean, as far as, I mean, I know they're one of the Holy Trinity. You got AP, you got Patek Philippe, and Audemars Piguet, Patek Philippe, and Vacheron. You know, that's the Holy Trinity. But do you think that the overall durability of that piece is a concern? I mean, since you have a nice rotation, it's probably not a piece that you would wear as much as your Rolexes, is it?
No, not at all. And this is me coming from a collector standpoint. I already have so many. I think I've bought like close to 10 Rolexes now in the past 5 years. So maybe more than that, honestly. I don't even know. But it's time it gets to the point where I want to venture into another brand. You know, I have obviously bought and more brands than Rolex, but AP, something I really wanted to get into. Patek is a little bit out of my price range. In theory, I could buy one, but, you know, I'd be sweating it. So AP, I've never owned an AP. I would like to have it. If I don't like it, I'll get rid of it. Fine. Another brand, I like Richard Mille, obviously, crazy expensive. Vacheron, you brought up, that's a great watch. Have you seen the all gold?
Well, I saw that, and I saw a few others. I was in Authorized Dealer in St. Martin. You used
to get those for under retail. I think retail is about 80, 90,000. Now they're going for 140. It's insane.
Yeah, Vacheron spiked. I mean, they're overseas, for example. I mean, those things were, you could get them in the bargain bin, and I mean, now the Vacheron overseas has just gone up, 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 and I think it's just the industry as a whole. I mean, things are, Rolex is through the stratosphere in the gray market, and I think it's just everybody chasing everybody.
Yeah, I think one good topic of conversation we should talk about today for people that are listening that maybe want to get into Rolex at retail is how to approach an AD without offending them or thinking that you're flipping, because that's a real thing, and it's a challenging thing that most people have trouble with. You walk into an AD right now and you say you want basically any watch, you're out of luck. So how do you approach that? I think I have great ideas and opinions on how to do it, because I do it personally. I've done it with 4 ADs in the state I've lived in, and another AD in a bordering state, and I've gotten Rolexes from all of them within a year every time.
How do you, just curious, how do you do that? Because it's I've got relationships with ADs. I've got relationships with several different brands: Breitling, JJ LeCoultre, Rolex, Ulysses Nardin. But it's because I purchased a long time ago, and I keep coming back. But that was prior to the the perceived shortage and the gray market price hikes and all that. So what's your strategy for building a relationship with an AD? So
I think you have to look at it in a few different ways. If you've never bought a watch before and you're going into it now, it's going to be you're going to need to be a little bit more strategic. Now, luckily for me, when I first bought my first Rolex, it was a non-date, and actually one of the inspirations, as you know, was from your channel, right?
That's crazy. Yeah.
I've talked about that. Yeah, it was you, and you were in some ocean somewhere. And at that time, I got the no date for $1,000 off at an AD.
Yeah.
I paid $65, and it was retailed at $75. So I kind of got into it before, the market was skyrocketing. So it kind of showed that I wasn't necessarily specifically for flipping watches, which I'm not at all. But someone my age, they instantly jump to that conclusion. Like, oh, this guy wants every sports model, he must be flipping, So then after that, another AD that I went to around the time when the prices started to go up, I walked into an AD, and they had a Sea Dweller.
Ooh,
and it was
nice.
the 50th anniversary. And I jokingly walked in there, and they said, "Oh, what are you looking for?" I'm like, "You don't have any sports models, do you?" And I said, "I know it's a dumb question. I know you guys don't have it." And one of the guys is like, "Actually, we have a Sea Dweller. We just called 3 people. They didn't answer, so we're kind of exhausting our calls." And it was about to close. And they said, you can buy the watch if you pay for it right now. So I somehow ended up getting the ability to get the funds, and I bought that watch, developed a relationship with them, ended up buying another 4 or 5 Rolexes from them. So I just made another relationship with another AD, never been to them before, walked in there with my significant other, and me and her were talking about, different jewelry ideas and stuff like that to buy. And it helped. I was rocking an all gold sub.
Oh, I'm sure. So what do you get? Do you get anything off of MSRP, or is that a thing of the past now?
No, definitely don't get anything off. I have trouble just getting it in general, but it's interesting because I'm not saying I do or don't do this, but some jewelers, if they're private Rolex ADs, they may take trades in different currencies, and you know what I like, gold and silver. And if you trade stuff, you don't have to pay sales tax on it necessarily. I'm not saying I do this, but it's an interesting thing. And so if you trade in watches, I've traded watches with my ADs, there's different ways to develop relationships. But regardless of how I've done it, luckily I got in early and developed through buying a lot of watches. And now I have watches to wear. So when I go into new ADs, I already show that I have the watch on my wrist. I'm not into flipping because I'm wearing the watch. I'm serious about spending more money and developing a relationship with them. I tell them about myself. I basically try to find middle ground on how can I help you and how can you guys help me. So there's a lot of variables in play, but for someone that's new, I would say try to create a story. So if you're in college or you just graduated, go into an AD, dress nice, don't look like, don't go in there wearing a Supreme t-shirt or whatever. Dress in nice dress clothes, go in there and say, you know what, I just graduated college. I've always wanted this watch. It's a milestone for me. Is there a way I can get this or attain this watch? Try to have reasoning behind your story so you guys can develop a relationship, because Rolex, the biggest thing with these ADs, I know a lot of people say they're flipping in the back door or selling it to people who they know for extra money. I don't think that's the case. They're worried about keeping their authorized dealer's license. And if they sell it to people and those people flip the watch, Rolex is starting to watch that and they'll lose their license. So they're very, very, very particular on who they sell their watches to right now. So it's important to try to develop a story and create a relationship on a personable level. And how to do that is completely up to you. But again, like if you're a college student, say you wanted it as a graduation gift. If you're in the job market already, so you just got promoted, you've been working towards something like this for a while, so happen to be the market's really high right now. Basic stuff like that, and that stuff goes a long way. I'm telling you, it goes a long way. So that's kind of my advice. Would you do that?
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, what do you think about, and this is kind of in line with what you were just saying, but this is a different, let's take it out. You were talking about people losing their authorized dealer privileges. Have you heard that a lot of brands, and I've heard rumors of Rolex and Omega, that they may be pulling out of all of the third-party retailers? They may be going boutique only. Have you heard about that?
I haven't, and that could be just because I'm super busy, so I haven't been looking for it. That might be good, and it might be bad. It'd be bad for people that are just getting into the sport of collecting watches, or the hobby, I should say. It'd be good for people that already have a lot of Rolexes, because I would think it would create more value in the watches. Or am I off on that?
I'm with you. I think it would create more value because when you're dealing with a third party, well, obviously a third party authorized dealer versus a Rolex or Omega boutique, they have a little bit of wiggle room in prices. Whereas if you're dealing with, Rolex or Omega only, I think the price is kind of going to be what it is. And I know back, and this was a long time ago. I mean, I'm an older dude, but I mean, I'd buy wristwatches, and it wasn't uncommon for me with Rolex to get a 20 or 25 or maybe even 30% discount at an authorized dealer. And I know that's unheard of today. I think today, if you just get, if you can manage to achieve your MSRP from an authorized dealer and actually have something being on the waiting list and get it, that's incredible. I think your steps, your techniques for building a relationship with an authorized dealer, I think that's great advice, man. I think that's great advice for anyone.
Yeah, I think you're sitting pretty if you get. So you're saying you got a 25 to 30% discount back in the day. Yeah. I think right now you're lucky if you get a 30% premium. I mean, that's how crazy these watches are. They're going for 100% premium. So if you can even get them at 30% higher than retail, you're in the clear. So it's ridiculous. Like, for example, that Submariner that I'm about to get, 9,500 retail, maybe it's 9,550, not exactly sure. Around that area. Right now, the average market on resale is 23,000. Yes. Nuts.
That
the
is nuts.
Oyster Perpetual Tiffany dial, the blue, retails for 5,900 on the 40 millimeter or 41 millimeter, I think it is. So 5,900 average market price right now for that watch is 18,000.
That's insane, and that's just an OP.
Oyster Perpetual, root beer GMT, 14.8 retail. You're lucky if you can get that watch for under 20. Lucky. If you can get it for under 20, get it, because it's going nowhere but up, in my opinion, for entertainment purposes. All these watches, it's nuts. It's crazy. So, I don't know. That's my advice for building relationships. Trevor just went to an AD today, right? Tell him your story. I think you have an interesting story.
Oh, I think I was already telling it. It might have been before you joined, but I went to an AD today and was talking with them and basically telling them that I'm interested in the root beer GMT and also the Starbucks, but mostly I'm really interested in the root beer GMT. And
what did they say to you in response?
Yeah, at first, the manager was like, we can definitely put you on the list, but it's unlikely that you'll get a call back for maybe even a couple of years because we have so many people on the list that want to get them. And I'm going to go to a few other locations too to try to see if I can. The manager was, I don't know, he wasn't yeah, exactly. He wasn't the friendliest guy. So might try a couple other places, change my approach maybe, but I tried to be as authentic as possible, just letting them know, I'm looking for this Rolex, really like this Rolex, and I'm continuing to work hard and make more money as my career progresses, and so I'm definitely interested in continue to buy more Rolexes from you guys and develop a relationship and everything, but I haven't bought a watch from that specific dealer yet, so they're saying they're more going towards people that have already bought watches from them.
Which I think is not necessarily the right way to approach it at a dealer. Well, I think it's basically saying, you spent money here on jewelry or whatever, here we'll reward you with this watch. So I like to use this as an example. They get mad at people that buy the watch, and then if it goes up in value, they sell them. But just imagine if you went into a Rolex boutique, you bought the Rolex, a week later the market crashes 50%, and you go back to the boutique and be like, how dare you sell me this watch? It dropped 50%, You would never do that because you made that choice, but they're mad at people. I get it if you're buying it strictly to flip it. I mean, I can see it's screwing over the people that are collectors, making it hard to get, but the way that they're approaching people and just kind of accusing, oh, you're young, you have a little bit of money, you're in it to flip it, you're probably never going to get it unless you spend a lot of money on jewelry here. That's a wrong way to approach it, in my opinion. It's a bad business model. It's not going to succeed. It's going to kind of deflect potentially lifetime customers. Like Trevor, he's got a great job, makes great money for his age, and they would be wrong in not putting him at the top of the list in a watch. And these dealers need to try to understand psychology and know, and at least take a little bit of risk on who is actually the right people to deal with. So I think I don't agree with the whole you need to spend so much money to get the watch. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, RX?
Yeah, I think that's ridiculous because somebody could be, a high net worth buyer and maybe they just want one watch now, but then they get that, and maybe that's kind of the gateway to pulling them into future acquisitions. I mean, they could potentially pass up, adding a new customer to their list or whatever you want to call it, and, that customer could be the big money customer that maybe they buy that, and it's like, oh, they like it so much, now I'm going to buy this, this, and that. Well, what do you think I should buy next? That customer could potentially become one of their top customers, and in the eyes of y'all, being of a younger demographic than me, I think that they're really screwing themselves over because they're passing up on a customer that's going to have many more years of watch acquisitions versus someone that's older, and maybe they have a one and done, and that's it.
Exactly my thought process. Now, Trevor's going to go make his relationship with another watch buyer, and let's say he spends, realistically, if you get into the watch game, you can easily, over a 20, 30-year span, no problem spend $500,000, no problem. And that they maybe lost that, who knows? So it is a bad taste in my mouth to see some ADs do that. I get that a lot of people want the watch, but it's a judgment call as well, right? It's not black and white. You need to have judgment, and that is one of the traits that you need to have to be a good business manager or executive. You need to know how to do that stuff. So I think from what I've seen, especially with a lot of my friends that are younger, and what I mean younger, I mean that on a relative scale, like mid to late 20s, they just don't want anything to do with anybody. They think everybody's flipping watches. Everybody. It's nuts. And you see all these YouTube channels doing it, so it's hard to separate, but still, bad business model.
How do you think the watch industry is going to evolve to accommodate the younger watch buying demographic? Because I mean, the older demographic, they're going to pass, they're going to pass away. And do you think that? And this is a great question for y'all. Do you think that, in your demographic, the 20s, 30s, whatever, do you think that in that age group, do you think that wristwatches are popular? I mean, let's say out of all your friends, what percentage of your friends are familiar with wristwatches, and of that percentage, how many of those are actually serious wristwatch collectors?
So I would say out of the people that I affiliate myself with that are around my age group, I would say 70% of them really like watches, 30% of them have watches, 5% have high-end watches. But the reason for that is the market, because a lot of these people that I'm friends with just got out of college 4 or 5 years ago as this market started to skyrocket. So I think every one of the people I affiliated with, if they had the chance, would buy a sports model Rolex if they could get it at retail. But just logically, if you have any type of monetary intuition, you would say, why am I buying a watch that's over 100% retail and not think it's going to correct? So I don't blame them for not buying it, and you can't get it retail. So that's the whole kind of epidemic I'm talking about, So I think, to answer your first question, I think people around my age, a little bit younger and a little bit older, are of course going to love watches. Watches are amazing. Everyone that has ever seen my Rolex that is my age, I wear it to the hospital. I show other doctors, other scientists, patients see it. It brings up so much conversation. Just the other day, a lawyer was in, and he was wearing an Omega, and I said, that's a great watch. And you couldn't really see my gold sub. And we started talking about his Omega, and he was enjoying it a lot. And I said, yeah, I think you'll like what I'm wearing. And I took off my gold sub, and he was just in awe. Like, you never see someone wearing an all gold sub. To the blind eye, 99% of people think it's a $50 gold Target watch. How would they know,
Yeah.
But if you know watches, you're like, whoa, what? So it's exciting. It's cool. And I think it's great. And you don't want everyone. You don't want it to be so ubiquitous that it kind of ruins it. I like how exclusive it is, but there's enough people that, it's still there to talk about and have fun with and enjoy, where you're not an outcast. So I think there's more people than you would think around my age that are excited about wristwatches. And if you see some of these YouTube channels that talk about watches, like Timepiece Gentlemen, Timepiece Trading, I know they're doing a lot with like Steve will do it and the Nelk Boys and stuff like that, those crazy kids. They're all wearing Richard Milles, APs, Rolexes, and giving out cars. But they're not only giving out cars, they're giving out APs, Rolexes, Pateks. So it's getting out there, and that's another reason why the price is getting driven up, because all these people are buying watches. So I think it's great because it gets that brand out there, and I know people respect the quality of these watches. They're great watches. I mean, what age did you get into watches?
I've been doing it since I was actually, I was a kid. I'd go to, and this isn't a real watch, but it was the old Walmart before you had the super Walmart, the super center Walmart. And I'd go in there and get the little, just the Casios. I had one of the original Timex Indiglows when Indiglo first came out, which was kind of that glow in the dark. But I didn't get my first real watch until after college, and that was the Omega Seamaster 300M Blue Wave dial, the one that you saw in my 7 Mile Beach Grand Cayman video when I bought my Rolex Submariner. So yeah, I mean, I've been doing it for a long time. You brought up some interesting points, especially, with social media, people that are showcasing these. It makes me wonder, people that see the influencers online with the wristwatches, do they see that and do they want the wristwatch because of, their favorite influencer was wearing it? Or do they see that and then they start becoming involved and interested in wristwatches, and they, it's kind of like, I guess where I'm going to that, I said it kind of poorly, but
I get what you're saying.
Are they in it
for example?
Are they in it for the status? Or are they in it because they really enjoy it? Is it something that's like, okay, I pick up one, now I'm hooked, and I got to get the next one. I got to get, collect all these different complications. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, for me, this is just coming from like empirical evidence of like what I know. So for what happened to me, one of my big influences ended up passing away, and he wore he wore a deep sea James Cameron sea dweller, right?
The Rang lock system.
I thought it was a Submariner. So I look it up and I'm trying to figure out what kind of watch this is, because he's a big influence on me. So I go in, the whole time I thought it was the Submariner, called my local AD. I started looking at YouTube videos what Submariners were. I saw your video and I'm like, gosh, that watch is amazing. I need to get that, the non-date. So I got the non-date because of, I mean, initially I wanted that style because of the influence of the guy that had on me. And once I got into the Rolex boutique and put on the Submariner, I got hooked. I'm like, this is awesome. These watches, nobody understands. I mean, I was like 23 when I got my first Submariner. So I was young.
Wow.
Yeah. So that I started realizing like this is a whole nother level that not a lot of people get to experience, as far as like what it feels like on your wrist, the fact that you can wear these things in the shower, when you swim, and they still look amazing. They're subtle, but they still pick the eye. They still attract the eye, if you know what I mean. Like even a basic non-date Submariner, it'll get some people turning their heads, even if they don't know watches, and be like, dang, that's a nice watch.
Yeah.
It's for me, I don't care if I had a Jacob & Co. offered to me. I don't like the Jacob & Co., even though it's $1 million for the Astronomia. I buy watches I like that I'm going to enjoy, because at the end of the day, the market could go down, but I want something I can still enjoy and like wearing, like one of my friends just today, when I was wearing the sub, he's like, man, you're wearing the gold sub again. You usually don't wear that all the time. I said, he's like, aren't you afraid of scratching that up? I'm like, no, I don't care, because I bought this to enjoy it. I didn't buy it to sell it. I don't care. Obviously, I hope it holds value, and I hope it goes up in value, which it probably will. But at the end of the day, I'm wearing it because I like it. We're all going to die. I spend my money on watches. Some people spend their money on the bar on the weekends. Some people spend their money on clothes, purses, whatever the case may be. I like watches. So, that's where I'm at with that.
You brought up a very interesting point, and that's actually a topic for an upcoming video, and that's how do you and today it's completely different than it was 10 or 12 years ago. Being able to save up and purchase that, one and done watch. How do you save up and purchase a one and done watch, especially with today's prices? But you mentioned some great points. I mean, people spend money on, there's people that I knew growing up, and I mean, inflation has continued to get worse, but people that I knew growing up that would spend a few $100s a week just going out to the bar for drinks and to meet women and all that. And, but you think about it, and if that was a person that wanted to get a wristwatch, I mean, cut out the bars for a few months, and now you've got a significant down payment. At least at that point in time, you had a significant down payment for, the wristwatch of your dreams. And I think a lot of people, they can't comprehend, it's expensive, but it's not like you're buying this it's not like a pair of shoes or a shirt or a suit, that's going to wear out. I mean, a watch is going to wear out, but probably not until you die.
Right. And it's something you can pass down to your kids. One way, just like me and you were talking about, you can easily spend a couple $100s on dating or going to the bar, and you don't notice it because maybe it's $30 a day, $20 a day in food. All that adds up. So I knew that going in, and I'm like, I'm going to live very frugally, save my money, invest it. And the money I do kind of put towards hobby, I'm going to start putting towards a watch. For the longest time, I could afford a really nice car. All my friends were driving nice cars, and I would drive, $1,000 beater, and I'd be wearing like a $25,000 watch. That's what I cared about.
Yeah.
you know? And here's the thing too. You also, if you have a lot of cash and you're like, okay, I have a lot of cash in the bank or whatever, you have to look at inflation and you have to say, maybe the USD is not necessarily going down in value, but the purchasing power of a lot of goods is going up, or the purchasing power is going down because the price of a lot of goods is going up. So instead of having that cash sit there, invest it in something that will probably at least maintain its value. In a good market, it's going to skyrocket in value, like watches, and you get to wear it every day and enjoy it. So part of me was like, I could have all these precious metals sitting around in different locations that are undisclosed, but or I could take a little bit of that precious metal, sell some, and start getting more watches and wearing them and having a daily lineup or a weekly lineup of watches that I get to pick from. And you know, it provides so much more value than I would have thought in my life. It's kind of weird because I don't want to give off that, you know, try to live off a high of wearing luxury goods. That's not what I'm saying, but wearing a great timepiece is awesome. And I think you both can relate to that.
Yeah. And, oh, wait, did I just hit a, are we still there?
Yeah.
Hold on, let me check my live stream here. I think I'm okay. I think I hit a button in my. Sorry about that. Let me just make sure we're still on air. You brought up a great point there. Yeah, we're here. I hit a. Okay, we're good. We're good. Oops, I hit that tie on there. Let's see. There we go. Okay. Yeah, we're still live. Sorry about that, viewers. Vortex Optics says. Fimo watch.
Well, Vortex Optics, he's talking about this hat.
Oh, your hat.
So
tell us about Vortex.
Yeah, obviously, if your viewers don't know, before I went to the University of Minnesota, before I decided to go be a doctor, I went to the Marines. I'm a Marine, first before anything. And Vortex is a great optic brand for Phenom watch. Check out the Vortex Razor Gen 3 1x10. It's a pretty sick optic. I think you'd like that. But yeah, anyway, back to watches.
Yeah, so you brought up a really interesting point, and this is something I'd like to kind of carry on the conversation about. You know, wristwatches, and I'm assuming especially for a younger demographic, it's even more so. You know, how do you deal? So here's the thing. There's people that you'll run into people, which in my circles is kind of slim, you know, the people that actually understand and appreciate wristwatches. And then there's people that'll look at it kind of in a negative light. They're like, why would you, spend X amount for something like that? What do you think, out of the majority of the people that you encounter, do you think that they look at the wristwatch as being a positive thing, or do they look at it as something that creates a jealous feeling, or what do you think about that? For most,
I have some thoughts on that.
Go ahead.
Well,
Taylor.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people I talk to, they don't. Most people don't realize the that like Rolexes hold their value or go up. They just think you're spending money on like almost like clothing or something, like you're spending money on Gucci. They don't really realize the value of buying a watch that is an investment. And a lot of people I talk to, family members, things, if spend $10,000-$15,000 in a watch, they just think of it as almost buying like a clothing accessory, and they don't. That's a lot of people I know think of it that way. So, there are some that realize the value of watches and are aware of that, but I've definitely noticed, I'd say even probably over half of people just think of it like that, like you're buying some kind of expensive clothing item almost. They don't realize that they actually hold their value.
That's an interesting take on it. I mean, it's kind of like, well, people don't realize, I mean, a quality wristwatch is, it's going to last a lifetime, unlike a suit that, somebody spends a few $1,000s on a suit. Well, if you bought a few suits, then you're in wristwatch territory, and those are going to wear out. I mean, after you wear them a few times, I mean, just sitting in a chair, it's going to wear out.
Yeah, and clothing, like basically immediately after you purchase it, it's worth nothing, basically. I mean, it takes at least a 95% drop in value, you know, after you've purchased it from the store, but watches aren't like that.
So
I think even if you save $10 a day on food, and $10 a day, let's say you spend $30 a day on average with all this inflated food prices. If you save $10 somehow, which you don't even notice on the daily goods, how much you're spending, but if you save $10 a day, cut out Starbucks in the morning, go to, you know, a less name brand store to buy your groceries for a year, you're going to save around 10K right there. And boom, that's a Rolex. You know, nobody thinks like that. So when they see with the Rolex, like, oh, why would you buy that? Why would you spend $10,000 on that? You know, to me, I don't even want to be affiliated with those people. If you think like that, you know what? I wish the best for you, but I don't have the energy. I'm dealing with other people. That's just the reality of how I think. The people that know about it, and that's who I want to affiliate with anyway, because you need to think. And if you haven't got the concept of what's an investment and what's not at the age that I'm at, then you know what? I probably, like I said, I wish you the best, but I can't. It's just you're not on my same thought process, you know. And I'm not saying I think better or I'm smarter or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. It's just it's hard to try to make sense out of nonsense if people are telling you you're an idiot for buying timepieces that hold their value. You know, I don't even like to entertain that topic personally because I've heard about it my whole life of people saying, why are you investing so much in stocks, or why are you buying this or that? The fact they're even asking that question is already enough for me to just not even want to talk about it. But maybe I'm being too harsh there, but whatever.
No, I don't think you're being harsh at all. I mean, there's no reason to, you know, one of those things I've never surrounded myself with negativity, and people have different opinions. I mean, that's fine. They can have their opinions. I surround myself with people that are like-minded, and it doesn't mean that everybody I'm best buds with, that we're all into wristwatches. Very few of my friends actually are into wristwatches. My real world, you know, since college friends. I mean, a lot of them aren't. Some of them have a wristwatch or two, but they're not. There's not the passion element. You know, it's not like, okay, well, I got one, now what's next? You know, I want to, you know, dive into complications. I want to get a moon phase. I want to get a power reserve indicator. And that's something I've always done with wristwatches. You know, every one I purchase, there's got to be something subtly different from a complication perspective, from a branding perspective, this, that, and the other. But it's, yeah, I mean, I don't, you know, this for me, and for some people it is. I mean, this isn't okay, well, I've got this, I've got that, you know, show off. And it's not like that. It's a hobby that's also an investment. And I'm not going to buy something just because the brand name's there. Rolex is pretty safe, but when you're dealing with other brands, not every reference is something that's probably going to appreciate. So I stay away from that. You know, I go for what I want to wear on my wrist, what feels comfortable, but I stay away from the dogs of the brands, if that makes sense.
100%. I agree. It's like, don't just buy a watch because you think it's a good investment. Buy it because it's a good investment and because you like the watch, you know, and maybe even if it's a mediocre investment, everybody looks at value as only one dimension, and that's monetary value. It's like you have to have a multiple dimensional analysis when you're looking at value. It's not just monetary. There's like what makes you happy. You know, there's so many different types of values out there. What makes you feel good? Is it helping others? That's a value. You know what I'm saying? So if you like the watch and it holds its value monetarily, that's a double good. But even if you're maybe losing a little bit of money on the watch, but you still love it, it still has value because you love the watch and you're enjoying it, and it makes life better. Because think of it, monetary value, if it goes up, it may provide a better quality of life, but even if something that you bought monetarily goes down, but you still love wearing it, you still have a higher quality of life. So you're still reaching that same goal, you know? So people are too focused on monetary value. For example, some of my friends collect shoes and they make a lot of money on doing it. They buy shoes on a drop and now the shoes are worth 10 times what they bought it for. I don't understand it, but I respect it. I understand it as an investment, but I'm not a shoe guy. You know, I wear boots and I wear tennis shoes. Simply, that's it. So I respect it, you know, totally. I get it. Just like how I am with watches.
Prime example of the wristwatch that fits that perfectly is my Ulysses Nardin Maxi Marine Diver. I mean, that thing, I negotiated. I got a stiff discount from the AD, but even on the gray market today, and I bought it many years ago, even on the gray market today, I'm about at a break-even point. But it's not something, even if, let's say, hypothetically, it had plummeted significantly in value on the gray market. I wouldn't care because I like it. It's unique. And, that was the most out there wristwatch purchase that I've ever made, but I enjoy wearing it. I'll never sell it. I'll never trade it. But
right.
Will it go up in value? Possibly.
Yeah, exactly. And when you buy watches, I mean, if you're about to buy any watch, even if it's going to go up in value, make sure you're not going to sweat it by buying it. Like, make sure it's not 50% of your net worth. I'm not telling you to do that. Make sure it's right for you and that you're not going to sweat it. But also don't worry about losing 10 grand. If you have if you could buy it 10 times over again, then, I mean, at the end of the day, if it goes to zero, that would suck. Is it going to do that? Probably not. Chances are, if you buy a quality Swiss watch, it'll probably go up, but even if it goes down a little bit, you know how many times, like I said before, a watch has caused me to come into a conversation with somebody and that value alone has exceeded any type of monetary value I could ever want with the watch.
Yeah.
Like hundreds of times. So that's a perfect example. Like, there's different values than just monetarily. Now, if it provides a ton of networking values of relationships, and it goes up in value, then it's just like, okay, I just won the lottery off buying this watch, you know? So think of it multidimensionally in anything you invest in, or else you'll never be happy. And you're just trying to get rich and have a bunch of money, and pretty soon the government's probably going to take that currency away from you anyway.
Exactly.
I'm just kidding.
Well, it's a realistic possibility. And Trevor and Hybrid Life, we're approaching an hour here. It's been always awesome to have y'all. Do y'all have anything else you want to share with the live audience?
Not too much. I had a couple other thoughts, but I could save them for the next show.
Definitely.
I just want to say, just to validate my whole kind of reasoning I was talking about on buying watches, the reason I know IRIX like I do right now is because of watches. What a prime example, you know?
Let me pull up that video for the viewers here. The video, it was the one where I was in the ocean, right?
Yep. And you're taking your no date and you're putting it up and down in the water, and I think you're holding the beer or some type of drink in the other hand.
Okay. Yeah. It's let's see. I'm on the program view right now. I'm gonna actually let me flip it back over here, and I'm going to load that up because I want the viewers to see. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy that you just said that. Let's see. I'm going to go to my preview mode and get the video loaded for us.
It just shows, though, how watches create relationships through networking, and that can be more valuable than any type of monetary gain that you could get from a watch, you know? So,
oh, yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Let's see. I'm going to load this one up. Did I have the Omega Seamaster on the orange strap?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's see. I'm going to search for it. I'm going to say Omega. It was the Omega and the Rolex, right? Or was it just the Rolex?
I'll look right now. Just to give you
here it is. 8 years ago. Right. I think this is the one right here.
It's the most, it says it's labeled the most iconic watch dash for Rolex Mariner.
$7 years ago. So this was actually a year after. Let's see, here we go. Can y'all hear that through the audio?
Let's see. I'll try playing it on. Oh, let's see.
This is the video.
Yeah, that's the video.
So this was actually a year after I bought it. This was in St. John in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and I bought it. I bought it in Grand Cayman about a year prior.
Such a good video. Brings back so much nostalgia. It's crazy.
Yeah.
This is how
Dang, that's beautiful
watched
scenery.
I watched this right before I got the note at the AD.
That's awesome, man. I mean, it's like I took it out, and this was a year after, and I took it in the water right after I bought it in the Cayman, and I had let me pop that video up real quickly for everybody, so you can see the when I actually got it. So that was a year after, and then when I actually bought it at the AD, Omega versus Rolex. The first thing I did with it, I went swimming with both of them. See, this one is time-stamped 8 years ago. So when I bought it, I went out to 7 Mile Beach in Grand Cayman, but I had both. I had the Omega Seamaster 300M that I wore down there, and I put on a rubber strap, and then there's the sub right there. That's within 2 hours of buying it, and I just took it out in the ocean.
Wow.
Not a scratch on it. So, yeah, guys. I mean, that's awesome. Hybrid Life, that's awesome that you found this. That you found this that way, you know.
Look at that watch. Such a beautiful watch.
Yeah, it's let me see. Let me pop y'all back up here. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out my screen here. I'm admittedly kind of dumb with this live streaming that I'm doing. Because I had both of y'all up here, and oh, there we go. There we go. There you are. So yeah, so that was it. Yeah, I wish I could drive a bigger audience for this. I had a big audience for my live shows, and you know, Archie Luxury.
It'll come for sure.
Yeah, it's just like I don't know. I mean, whatever the talking points can be, and Trevor and Hybrid Life both. If y'all want me on your channel for your live shows, let me know, and I'm always happy to join and do that.
Awesome, yeah, I'd love to do that.
For sure, 100%. I'm about to buy a new MacBook with the M1 chip, so I'm about to go hard on editing.
You probably need to wait until tomorrow because I think Apple's releasing the new the MacBook Pro, probably the M1X tomorrow.
Yeah, I heard that the M1X is like the 14-inch and 16-inch.
Yeah, but also, yeah, go ahead.
Do you think those will be like hard to get? Like, do you think they'll be like sold out or?
Well, because of the chip shortage, rather, I think there'll probably be some delays. I mean, even for the people that order immediately, they're in the top of the queue. But all sincerity, I've got 2 Macs. I've got the MacBook Air M1, which I love. I've got it with 8 megs of memory, 8 gigs of memory, and 512 of storage. And then I've also got the iMac M1 with 1 terabyte of storage and 16 gigs of memory. And for 4K video editing, both of these machines are great. So I don't really have a need to go faster.
They're basically sufficient already. Yeah, like I was saying, I have the MacBook Pro M1. I did 16 gigs of RAM, and it's perfect for 4K video editing. I don't know if I even would need the M1X for what I do. You know, I don't do any kind of like 8K or anything like that. So it's pretty amazing, the M1 chips already, how they are. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see like what the price point is on these 14-inch and 16-inch ones.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, we got a few comments before we depart here. We've got GCF GUVC. Irix guy, when we will see the 50 Fathoms review? Probably after the root beer. I want to get the root beer next. Pheno Watch, I'm thinking Panerai or Breguet when I get some income. I love Panerai, wear anywhere, a lot, durable, kind of like a Rolex, but it's not going to be as high horology as your Breguet. The Ego from Venice, Wino JLC or Breguet, and then Ego from Venice says, my ego can't handle these brands, Irix guy. And then Pheno Watch, I'd get a Reverso, Drolton, Irix guy. And then Pheno Watch says, I should have cashed in on these 2008 deals back when. So, yeah, it's interesting. So, well, gentlemen, thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this baby up, but we'll try to get up. Sorry I didn't get a live show until today. Actually, I did that Death Reaper challenge, and it kind of put me out of service.
I can't wait until we all have root beer GMT.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Hey, that's a goal. You know, let's have a live stream here soon.
The Timepiece trio.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
with all root beer GMTs. I love it. Let's do it.
That'd be legendary. Yeah. We appreciate it, Alex, guy. Thanks so much. Great talking to you again tonight.
Hey, I appreciate it, gentlemen. Y'all have a good night. See ya.
Yeah, you too.